Right, today we're just going to get into LEDs. Cheap ones that are replaceable for any sort of off-road vehicle or vehicle that these things are prone to failure in. Alright, we'll shoot into the material list. You got acrylic tubing. I got 8-foot sections, which we will cut down in a minute. Clear caulk and a caulking gun. Obviously need tools. I've got wire cutters. For some reason I grabbed those. Butt connectors. You may or may not use these. I'm undecided if I'm going to yet, depending on how everything fits together. Shrink wrap is your choice. There's plenty of ways to do it with or without. You can, you can't. I'm not liable for any way you wire something, so just take that with a grain of salt. And then we got, I believe these are for a chair. You'll see later on how we're going to use these, but it's for the end of the tube, basically, to clean it up. You, of course, are going to need your choice of LEDs. On our particular application, we're going to be using these blocks. We just got all this, well, the majority of this from Amazon. The way mine is wired in my vehicle, because I only use a single color, is I have a wire running from under the dash down to a switch, and then from the switch it'll go down to this. The wire from the dash to the switch is actually tied into the dimmer switch itself, so that if you ever want to dim your LEDs, it's a way you can do it right off your dash. And then you can have your lights on without the LEDs on with the switch. So it's kind of a dual purpose thing. We haven't tried these out before, but we're making it a little bit more efficient compared to our version 1 that we did. And we will get into cutting everything, and we'll start now. So let me get these tubes cut and I'll get back with you. All right, well, that's where the tubes are cut. I used a grinder to do it. It's not the cleanest cut, but there's going to be a cap at the end of it. This cap right here, we got them. They're for a chair. It's meant to protect them from the floor, but I figured it'd work perfect for this, and it fits the tube pretty well. And by the time we seal it up, you're not going to have any issues. You're not even going to see that. So the plan is to take 2 LEDs, put them back to back, and put them in the tube. Very self-explanatory, but also cheaper than most other options. And because we have a 4-wheel drive, I don't need to make a whole bunch of companies happy by continuously buying new ones. We break them all the time, so this is the cheap alternative to not be continuously ditching out money to a company because we keep breaking stuff. And I just like to do it myself. Sometimes it's cheaper. This is about the same as buying just a solid color LED kit. So when it comes to the big ones, these ones here, these ones are the 46-inch tubes for the sides. It's meant to go underneath the front and back door. I'm going to do the same thing with the front and rear facing, just to give optimal coverage so you don't have any dead spots. But I'm going to overlap a little bit, and I'm just going to wire or put the wires in between. So on the back side, it'll go together like this, and then you'll have the other LED covering it. So if everything goes correctly, you will be able to see the wiring probably poking out from the middle. When they're sandwiched together, you'll probably see the wires and stuff in the middle of the tube right there. But I mean, if you're underneath a vehicle checking to be that precise, I mean, you need to start a business, because apparently you can do it better. That's a little nitpicky. All right, so I'm gonna throw you in the time lapse. You got how it's gonna go. We got the silicone. We're gonna stick it in the end here, most likely. If anything changes along the way, I'll let you know. But I'm gonna cap the end, put the tube in, or put the LEDs in the tube, cap the other side, and then I've got some loom I'm gonna try to do for the wire coming out of the end, just to clean it up, keep it from chafing when it goes through the floor. I mentioned the distribution block. So I have my carpet out of my vehicle right now, and the point of this on top of how it's routed already is that I'm just gonna have this up somewhere under the dash. So if I ever want to add anything new, I just got to tie into this, good to go. The wires themselves will run underneath the carpet straight to where the LED is, and then it's gonna have a small hole straight through the floor, and it's gonna connect like that. We did the option before where you go through, you do the long cables, you wire it in, you do that whole like C on one side, C on the other, and split them up like usual LEDs. It didn't work. We always had issues with wiring. Stones, rocks, whatever, over, I would probably say about 6 months to a year is when it'd usually start happening. They would start fraying, we just start having issues. So this way, it'll come out of the tube and it's gonna go straight up. Just like that. It'll go straight up into the body. So you're just gonna have like this little bit like that sticking out. So that shouldn't be no problems. The front should be the only part that actually has to be routed, and that'll just go through the firewall. I'm gonna connect it to the rest of the harness and then connect it right at the front. So the front bar will have 2 of these, and those will be the only ones really with exposed wire, but I'm gonna try hiding it in the original wiring harness. So I'm gonna throw you into a time lapse and I will show you how it's done. So hopefully you guys learn something, or at least get some ideas, or I mean, worst case, you just have fun watching a video because you're bored. that pretty much wraps that up. We're going to be using rubber insulated clamps to mount them underneath. Having the front set right here of lights pointing down will give you pretty good ground coverage. Having the second set on the back is to spread the light out, so anything behind it will kind of act like a mirror. So that should give you pretty good light coverage. We were gonna do a whole bunch of these, but this seems like the easier bet. But for this, I would recommend getting full length tube, or not the tube, but I would recommend the full length light to go ahead and just purchase the length you need and then get 2 of those, back it up so you don't have to do a whole bunch of splicing or manipulating for it. But that's it. The only thing left to do is on the ends right here, I'm going to fill it with silicone and then stick the caps on. It'll be the same way with the other side. I'm gonna put a knot right here, tie it in a knot, and then put a hole in it, fill it with silicone. Boom, that's it.